This is the part 2 of No One Came for Them, so they became the parents they needed. You can check our previous video to catch up on part 1. Now back to our story. The first time Dubem fainted, it was at the block site on a Thursday. He had been hauling wet cement under the hot sun since morning. His singlet soaked, his palms without gloves. He only drank half a cup of garri and groundnut that day. He didn't tell anyone he was feeling dizzy. That's Dubem for you. He's quiet, stubborn, and carries more than his share of cement. By 2 p.m., his body gave out. One of the other laborers saw him slump and shouted, "Ah, Oga, Dubem don't fall." He hit the ground hard. His shoulder landed first on the floor and he blacked out. They poured water on his face, fanned him and carried him under the mango tree. When he opened his eyes, the first word he muttered was Adugo. At home, the panic came like a wave. A neighbor, Mama Kosi, came running to the house, breathless. "Where is your sister?" she asked Ugonna. "I heard Dubem fainted. They just brought him back. Someone should get water for him." Adugo was inside the room, styling a customer's wig. She stood up so fast, her knee hit the stool. "Where is he?" she asked, rushing out of the room. Outside, Dubem was being helped by 2 men. His face was pale, his eyes half open. He looked not like himself. Adugo grabbed his hand. "Why didn't you eat?" she whispered to him. He didn't answer. He just squeezed her fingers lightly. That evening, the house was tense. Dubem lay on the chair, his head propped up by a pillow. Adugo sat by his feet. The others moved quietly, like any sound could break something sacred. Obioma stood at the door, playing with the doorknob. Ugonna crawled into Dubem's arms and whispered, "Please don't go where Mommy and Daddy went." Dubem smiled faintly and replied, "I'm not going anywhere." And he meant it. Even if his body failed him, he wasn't going to leave his siblings alone in this world. The next day, he didn't go back to the block site. Instead, he started looking for something less demanding. He cleaned an old pair of trousers, ironed his shirt, and began asking around for night security jobs. Something with shelter and rest, even if the pay was smaller. He got one by the 3rd day. A sachet water factory down the road needed someone to watch the gate at night. The salary was 20,000 naira a month. No feeding, no transportation, but it was something, so he accepted it. Back home, things were beginning to change. Adugo had braided 2 wigs and posted them on her WhatsApp status with the caption, "Affordable wigs. Please patronize me. I'm just a girl trying to help her siblings survive." One of her former classmates responded to her status with, "How much for one?" And that was how she sold one of the wigs for 12,000 naira and made a profit of 3,000 naira. She used 2,000 naira to buy ice fish and vegetables, which she used to cook soup. Everyone happily ate like it was Christmas that day. Then she tucked 1,000 naira into an envelope which she labeled for rent. But just as they began to breathe again, another blow came. One Tuesday, Onyii didn't return from school. At first, Adugo thought that maybe he stayed back to copy notes or play football with his friends. But when it was 5 p.m., then 6 p.m., then 7 p.m., she began to panic. "Dubem," she said, "Onyii hasn't come back yet." "Did you ask his friends?" Dubem questioned. "They said he left after school," Adugo replied. They both began to search for Onyii. Dubem, despite being exhausted, went out. He checked the field, the junction, the chemist shop where Onyii used to buy snacks, but there was no sign of Onyii. The next day, by 11 a.m., Onyii returned home. He walked in like nothing happened, dropped his bag in the room, and went to the kitchen. Adugo stared at him, her hands shaking. "Where were you?" she asked angrily. He shrugged nonchalantly. "Onyii, Adugo screamed. I slept in Chike's house, Anayo blurted out. Chike, that boy that smokes in school, are you mad? Dubem didn't say a word. He walked into the room, and 2 minutes later, he walked out with a belt. Anayo's eyes widened. You want to flog me? You disappeared for 18 hours. And don't think anyone deserves an explanation, Adugo shouted angrily. I'm not a baby, Anayo screamed. Dubem raised the belt to flog him. Anayo didn't run. He just stood there, his chest rising and falling, daring his brother to flog him. And Dubem froze. He dropped the belt slowly and then walked away. Sometimes, the pain is too heavy for even discipline to occur. The next day, Anayo left a note on the table in the sitting room which read, I'm sorry, I just want to breathe sometimes. Dubem put the note in his pocket and said nothing. He didn't punish him. He just made sure he ate that night. For him, that was punishment enough. Then, the next day, Ugonna disappeared. It was a Saturday. Everyone was home. Dubem had just returned from his night duty job and was resting. Adugo was working on a wig at the backyard. Anayo was doing his homework. Obioma was playing in the compound. And Ugonna, he was gone. They searched the compound, checked their neighbors' houses. They went down to the borehole area and even checked his friends' houses. Yet, he was nowhere to be found. Adugo started crying. Anayo was trembling. Then, a voice came from the gate. It was an elderly woman who sells snacks in a kiosk on the street next to theirs. Are you looking for your brother? She asked. Yes, Adugo screamed. Please, do you know where he is? He was with me, the woman replied. He came to buy sweets but didn't have any money. He said he's waiting for his mommy to come back and give him money to buy sweets. So he has been sitting by my shop and waiting for over an hour. They followed the woman to her shop, and there he was, sitting by a stool, drawing with a stick in the sand. Adugo knelt down and hugged him so tightly that he started crying too. She whispered, You scared us, Ugonna. You can't go out like that. We are your mommy and daddy now, okay? We are not strong enough to lose anyone else. The next day, Dubem came back from his night guard duty and found a small plastic plate covered with foil on the table. Inside was white rice and stew, still warm, with a note beside the plate. Eat before you faint again, from Adugo, your annoying sister. He smiled for the first time in weeks. 2 weeks after Ugonna's disappearance, the house began to breathe differently. It wasn't that the pain had gone. It hadn't. Grief still slept on their couch, but with each new day came tiny bits of peace. Maybe it was the stew in the pot that lasted 3 whole days. Maybe it was the laughter that escaped Anayo's mouth when Obioma tickled him for the first time in weeks. Or maybe it was the sound of Adugo's WhatsApp notification suddenly buzzing more than usual. It started on a Monday. She had just posted a wig video in her status. Nothing fancy, just a boomerang of her fingers swirling through brown curls with a caption, 40,000 naira each, home delivery available, help a sister raising 4 siblings. By noon, her WhatsApp messages was on fire. First, it was a former classmate. Then, someone named Mrs. T, a friend of a friend. Then, a woman with an American accent who said, I'm not even in Nigeria, but your story touched me. I'll buy 2, one for me and one for my cousin in Port Harcourt. By Friday, she had made 32,000 naira, the highest amount she had ever made in her life. She sat in their small parlor, stared at her mobile app, and let tears drip silently into her lap. Then, she did something Dubem didn't expect. She walked into the room while he was ironing his security uniform and transferred 10,000 naira to him and said, buy yourself a new torch. That one you've been using is shameful. Dubem blinked, then smiled. That soft, rare smile that made him look like their father for half a second. But just as they began to breathe again, life reminded them that it could still knock. It came in the form of Obioma's illness. It started small with a slight fever. She complained about her stomach and weakness. At first, they thought it was malaria. Adugo gave her paracetamol. It didn't help. Dubem bought antibiotics from the chemist. Still, there was no improvement. By the third day, Obioma couldn't sit up. Her breath was shallow and her palms were cold. Dubem carried her on his back to St. Jude's Hospital. The nurse on duty looked at the girl. Her eyes were already sunken, and she said flatly, she needs to be admitted. That night, Dubem sat beside her in the children's ward. He didn't move. He couldn't sleep either. He just sat beside Obioma's sick bed, watching the drip move like time itself. At 2 a.m., Obioma woke up. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper. Brother, she whispered. He leaned in. Did mommy cry when daddy died? She asked. Dubem blinked, his heart folding into itself. I don't know, but I think she did, he replied. Obioma nodded. Then she asked again, did you cry when she died? Dubem swallowed and replied, yes. Then she reached for his hand and said, me too. By morning, she was stronger. The fever had gone down. She even smiled when a nurse gave her biscuits. That was the first moment Dubem believed that maybe, just maybe, they were going to survive this. Back at home, the landlord returned. He walked straight into the compound and met Adugo washing the wig of a customer in a black basin. Without any smile on his face, he shouted, where is Dubem? He's at the hospital, Adugo replied. My sister, I'm not here to hear any long story, my dear. This is the third month. I am tired. I have people who want to pay for this house. People who can afford it. If I don't see 60,000 naira in 10 days, please pack out of my house. He turned and left without even waiting for any response. Adugo didn't even finish rinsing the wig. She walked into the house and sat still, breathing slowly as if trying to swallow panic. 10 days kept echoing in her mind. But what she didn't know was that someone had seen the landlord shouting, and that someone had gone to tell the school principal. 2 days later, Principal Okoro of Divine Mercy Secondary School knocked on their gate. It was early evening. Onyii was sweeping. Obioma was outside pressing sand into a plastic bottle. Adugo was inside working on a new wig. Onyii opened the gate and froze. Good evening, sir, he greeted. Where is your brother? The principal asked. Dubem came out. The principal didn't waste time. I came to see the family, and I came with something. He turned, opened the boot of his car, and pulled out a large nylon bag, a sack of rice, and a white envelope. Someone showed me your sister's WhatsApp status. I didn't know you kids were going through this. I knew your parents. They were really good people. He handed Dubem the envelope. Take this. It's not much, but there's 50,000 naira inside. Use it for rent or feeding or anything you need. Dubem couldn't fathom what was happening. Words refused to come. Adugo came out. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Thank you, sir, she finally whispered. Thank you so much. The principal nodded. I'll be checking in with you guys. You're not alone. That night, the 5 siblings sat on the floor, a pot of jollof rice between them, one lantern in the middle of the room, with laughter that was soft and real. Ugonna told a ridiculous story about his classmates. Onyii mimicked his teacher. Obioma laughed so hard till her tummy hurt. Dubem looked around, slowly, from one face to the next. Then he whispered, maybe, just maybe, we'll be fine. Please subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.